Hi, I am Samantha Slater, and I will be presenting my thesis on rewriting classrooms' relationship with African American Vernacular English. The research question I focused my thesis on was how can educators implement AAVE inside the classroom in a way that rejects stereotypes and improves the education for native speakers. The education system still uses a white normative approach as a basis for teaching the diverse number of students in the United States. This unfairly sets white students ahead in their education over their BIPOC classmates. As Joanna Neal describes in Preventing School Failure, the Native American Child, students are a lot less likely to fully adjust to the classroom environment and perform at the level they are expected to if they do not see their non-white cultures represented and valued by their education. An achievement gap exists between Black students and white students in all subjects, which is due to a wide number of reasons, including schools' inability to accommodate Black and African American students' unique needs. The goal of my research was to figure out how classrooms can accommodate the specific need of seeing that their dialect is welcome in the classroom. Some key terms that I will be using throughout my presentation are AAVE and BAA. AAVE stands for African American Vernacular English, an English dialect that is largely spoken in the homes of Black and African American people. BAA stands for Black and African American. They are now considered two different non-interchangeable terms. Black refers to people with African descent. African American refers to people with African descent who have roots in the United States. African American people's history in the U.S. is important to that identity. So from this point forward, I am going to talk about the background information to my research, like why I wanted to conduct this research and some relevant information about AAVE. Secondly, I will go into how I conducted my research. Then I will explain the results of my research. In other words, I will describe how educators have included non-white cultures inside of their classroom and whether it can be considered successful or not. After that, I will describe how educators can get inspiration from these results and incorporate AAVE into their own classrooms. Lastly, I will answer why this research is important to education and BAA students more specifically. The first thing I want to talk about is why I chose to write my thesis on incorporating AAVE inside the classroom. Well, my goal was always to try to become an English teacher in the future. I am an English education major, so I have taken classes that are centered around writing theory and teaching pedagogies. One of the pedagogies I learned about was culturally responsive pedagogy, which inspired my research topic for my thesis. Now, I would like to give background on AAVE. Unfortunately, AAVE has always been looked at as a lazy and uneducated way of speaking. Students have largely been discouraged from even just using it to talk to their peers in the classroom. Stereotypes like those are what allow white normative ideals to become the norm that everyone must fit under. For example, everyone is expected to use and master academic English inside the classroom because it promotes success. Language plays a huge role in every single culture, so pushing this one way of communicating onto students seems to be a form of assimilation. Lately, educators have been attempting to welcome AAVE through a code-switching approach that allows students to speak it casually in the classroom. However, that still reinforces that academic English is the superior dialect to AAVE. Additionally, hip-hop and rap have been introduced to classrooms to try to connect with BAA students. That approach is a good starting place, but only using that is generalizing the needs and wants of BAA students. My research took the form of a systematic literature review. My goal was to find peer-reviewed research articles about how other non-white cultures have been introduced into the classroom. I searched for these articles through the CSULB library's databases. The criteria I set for the articles were that they had to be written within the 21st century. The publication types had to focus on one of the following: education, language studies, ethnic studies, or theory. Preferred articles were written by educators or by people who were a part of the culture they were writing about. Once the research articles were collected, I looked for trends in the ways that cultures were introduced and if it seemed successful or not. Native American cultures have been implemented in ways that allow Native students to be able to practice their culture inside the classroom and allow non-Native students to get a better understanding of Native American culture outside of just how they have been wronged throughout history. One way was to incorporate a local Native American tribe's language and/or a Native American student's language into the grammar lessons. This gives Native American students a time where they are welcome to speak and write in their language. Also, in younger grades, educators have given specific lessons about local tribes' cultures and allowed their students to create art lessons based on the lessons. Dual language programs have been created to give students spaces to enhance their ability to read, write, and communicate in their native language while also learning English in their regular classes. This has been traditionally done in schools with a large number of Spanish speakers. An issues-centered education has been used to push students to think about and identify how non-white communities have been discriminated against in society. Educators can get inspiration from how Native American languages have been incorporated into grammar lessons. Contrary to the stereotypes, AAVE has specific grammar rules and structures just like every other English dialect. A few patterns found in AAVE are the invariant be, the copula deletion, and the third person singular s absence. BAA students should be welcome to speak AAVE during these lessons. Not just that, BAA students should be given a choice over how they communicate on assignments or to their peers. Every single subject, not just English, can contribute to the incorporation of AAVE through this way. Additionally, history classes can include the history of AAVE into the teacher's lectures on the corresponding historical periods. Educators should not take the dual language program approach. Creating separate time in areas where BAA students can speak AAVE is just another form of code switching. A common concern is, will BAA students still be able to get jobs in the future if they're encouraged to use AAVE in school? Academic English is still part of the curriculum, so BAA students will be getting practice with academic English during grammar lessons and on the corresponding assignments. The white normative approach to education is not working for BAA students. Their education should want them to be successful, but that can only happen when all students start school on the same level and are able to see themselves in the lesson plans educators create. AAVE is needed to create a classroom environment where BAA students can feel connected to what they are learning and have a better chance at thriving. The strategies presented in this presentations can be used to make this happen for BAA students. Thank you.